Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, The Cause of All Causes, verse 32. Yadaite sangata bhava bhutendriya manogunaha yadayatana nirmane nashekur brahmavittama yadaite sangata bhava bhutendriya manogunaha yadayatane nirmane nashekur brahmavittama yadaite sangata bhava bhutendriya manogunaha yadayatana nirmane nasheku brahmavittama. Yadha, as long as ite, all these, asangataha, without being assembled, bhavaha, remain so situated, bhuta, elements, indriya, senses, manaha, mind, gunaha, modes of nature, yada, so long, ayatana, the body, nirmane, in being formed, na sheku, was not possible, brahmavittama, or Narada, the best knower of transcendental knowledge. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A. Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O Narada, best of the transcendentalists, the forms of the body cannot take place as long as these created parts, namely the elements, senses, mind, modes of nature, are not assembled. Please repeat. O Narada, best of the transcendentalists, the forms of the body cannot take place as long as these created parts, namely the elements, senses, mind, and modes of nature, are not assembled. Purport. The different types of bodily construction of the living entities are exactly like different types of motor cars manufactured by assembling the allied motor parts. When the car is ready, the driver sits in the car and moves it as he desires. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 61. The living entity is as if seated on the machine of the body, and the car of the body is moving by the control of material nature, just as the railway trains are moving under the direction of the controller. The living entities, however, are not the bodies. They are separate from the cars of the body. But the less intelligent materialist scientist cannot understand the process of assembling the parts of the body, namely the senses, the mind, and the qualities of the material modes. Every living entity is a spiritual spark, part and parcel of the Supreme Being, and by the kindness of the Lord, for the Father is kind to His sons, the individual living beings are given a little freedom to act according to their will, to lord it over material nature, just as a father gives some playthings to the crying child to satisfy him. The whole material creation is made possible by the will of the Lord to allow the bewildered living entities to lord it over things as they desire, although under the control of the agent of the Lord. The living entities are exactly like small children playing the material field under the control of the maidservant of the Lord, which is called nature. They accept the Maya or the maidservant as all in all, and thus wrongly conceive the supreme truth to be feminine, goddess, Durga, etc. The foolish, childlike materialists cannot reach beyond the conception of the maidservant, material nature. But the intelligent, grown-up sons of the Lord know well that all the acts of material nature are controlled by the Lord, just as a maidservant is under the control of the master, the father of the undeveloped children. The parts of the body, such as the senses, are the creation of the Mahatattva, and when they are assembled by the will of the Lord, the material body comes to existence, and the living entity is allowed to use it for further activities. This is explained as follows. It will be continued. So the verses are connecting. So the next verse will explain further. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Om Agnati Mirantasya Gananjaya Shalakaya Chakshulintya Tasma Shri Purava Jai Shri Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada explains very clearly the fundamentals of Vaishnava Siddhanta, which is the original equation that we have to always remember. As Krishna himself, several places in the Gita, especially in the second chapter, establishes the fact that we are not this machine, yantra. Yantra also known as machine. Dehinosmin yata dehi kumaram yovanjara tata dehantara prapti dhira satanamuyati. So you can see these basic introductory slokas which leads the entire Bhagavad Gita, and the theme of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna explains, just like we're building a house, naturally we design the foundation and we build on that. So Krishna makes it very clear to us that we are not the body. We are the eternal Jiva Atman. Without this, we cannot comprehend anything higher or more detailed, not to speak of complexity, or any complexities of Vaishnava Siddhanta. Without a foundation, how can you build a house? It doesn't work. So the original equation, just like 1 + 1 = 2, then you build on further and make it more complex. Unfortunately, as Srila Prabhupada describes the scientists, foolish materialists. Why we call them foolish? Because they miss the original foundation. For them, 1 + 1 = 3, not 2. Therefore, the complexities of this material world based on a grand illusion. And they created this complicated, difficult civilization, so-called civilization, which crumbling right in front of our eyes, we can see, because they have no real substance, foundation. So as Krishna created these elements, Mahatattva, and you can see the elements and the senses and the mind and the modes of material nature, see, the living entities have a field called kshetra and a body, yantra, so we can express rebellious nature. We want to enjoy, we want to act, we want to exercise our free will. So Krishna facilitates, although he does not actually really likes the living entities misuse their independence. But he does not interfere because he's a Supreme Father, and he gives some freedom. And we insisting, we want to enjoy in a certain way, so Krishna somehow or other agrees, okay, this is the material nature, prakriti. Everything has a cause of all causes, and you have to submit to me nevertheless. Therefore Krishna says, Ishvara Paramaha Krishna Sat Chit Ananta Vigraha Anadir Adir Govindaha Sarva Karana Karana. Sarva Karana Karana means the cause of all causes. Ultimately, Krishna is the supreme engineer, the architect of this universe, and he's got agencies. Just like in master planning, there are many engineers involved, but ultimately there's a chief engineer who approves it, signs it, and he takes the responsibility for it. So similarly, Krishna is the ultimate creator, the ultimate engineer, and within his creation he's got agencies. We may call them different names. They have administration, the demigods obviously, and we can see that certain demigods are in charge of the elements. For example, Agni-dev, the fire god, Vayu-dev, the Vayu, the air qualities, Indra, the rain, Surya, the sun. So they all have their functions and responsibilities. So they're Ishwaras also. But amongst them, Parama Ishvaraha, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as Srila Prabhupada clarifies the position of the scientist, it's not that we're against the scientists, but we're not endorsing the ignorance of the scientists. And often there are exceptions amongst the scientists. Scientists who try to understand the realities and try to understand how Krishna, the Supreme Personality, the Supreme Intelligence, created this Prakriti and how the laws of nature manifest. Einstein was one of them. Einstein was trying to understand the brain of Krishna, how Krishna created this incredibly, perfectly operating system of the universe we call nature. But because the living entities, being deluded in this material world, thinking themselves the doers, thinking themselves the body and karma guna, the particular disposition, different positions in this material world, thinking themselves that actually material nature is the ultimate. So they're missing the point. There's a pinprick in the equation. There's a flaw in the equation. Therefore they're building the equation, a formula, based on artificial, superficial, or completely deluded concepts, delusion. They miss the point. So we cannot expect anything good. The outcome is not positive. We can see the outcome, instead of having a positive outcome, have a negative outcome in a form of suffering, individually and collectively. You can see the living entities who have no spiritual knowledge, who have no real understanding of the Atman, the pure spirit, they bound to be in that confused state. And on this confused state, they're building a science. And therefore, they are called foolish. If I miss the equation, if I say 1 + 1 = 3, I'm bound to be foolish. You may take it to another level of equation, but the original formula is wrong, see? So you can see this technological era and so-called civilization, they build a very complex world, see? But they all have shaky grounds. There's no real substance. The foundation is not correct. This is collapsing in front of our eyes. And we can see the individual and collective psychic it's filled with anxiety. Everyone's in anxiety because they don't have that actual knowledge. Therefore, Krishna establishes Raja Vidya, the king of knowledge, Divya Jnana, transcendental knowledge, so the living entities can come to their senses. Otherwise, we're like undeveloped children, as Srila Prabhupada says in the purport here, that the Father is very kind. Krishna is very kind. He's the original Father. He is the supreme pure, the supreme friend of all living entities and well-wisher. And he does not want the living entities to go through this endless suffering and anxiety. We cannot be happy without Krishna. So we, as students of Vaishnava Siddhanta, we should also be very clear about it. Without having a connection with devotional service and Krishna consciousness, we cannot actually be fully happy or satisfied. Even as devotees, we have to realize that we should embrace this opportunity as far as possible, try to apply the principles of devotional service and develop our realization so we can actually experience this reality, transcendental reality. In the material world, because they missed the original equation, metaphorically speaking, they're confusing the authority, nature, we call Prakriti, Mother Nature, to be the ultimate authority. So scientists, at least, they're realizing that there is some form of powerful force, although it's very impersonal phenomena. They cannot understand that there is actually a personality behind, a supreme divine, supreme Krishna, we call supreme personality of Godhead. But they're realizing that there's a supreme force. Although they're trying to load it over, we can see our technological development. They're aiming towards control the world and conquer the universe, and they're constantly endeavoring and struggling to show that we are actually in control. But actually it's not true. We are not in control. We can never be in control. Even our very body, our psychophysiological makeup is constantly controlled. Every part of our limbs and body is controlled by a particular demigod according to our karma guna. So we have flexibility. We can express, we have a field of action, kshetra, and we have desires, and there is also a karma from the past, karma guna. So we have this matrix of experience, and we suffer or enjoy accordingly, happiness and distress. A devotee who has knowledge, by hearing Shravanam Kirtanam, Smaranam, we can somehow or other, by the mercy of the great teachers, great spiritual masters, Mahajanas, who make it very clear to us that actually the purpose of life is to really understand the self, our connection with Krishna, and what to do about it. We're not just hearing this for the sake of hearing, but we want to do something about it. We want to apply this. Therefore, Krishna consciousness has to be applied. It's not just a theory for the sake of theory. This is not an armchair philosophizing. This is actual philosophy of reality, transcendental reality. And when we apply it, we have an experience. We are experiencing Krishna. We are experiencing devotion service. So when we practice Krishna consciousness, chanting the holy names of the Lord, engage in various services according to our natural inclination, Krishna gives us the realizations. He's helping us within our hearts, that actually He's our supreme friend. Prabhupada used to emphasize, we have to always understand these three things. Krishna is the supreme proprietor, the supreme enjoyer, and the third? The best friend. Krishna is the best friend. So Krishna is the best friend. So if we understand this, much easier to practice Krishna consciousness. Because you see, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Therefore, all the Shastras, including Yajurveda, where Yagna Purusha is always sacrifices, always giving pleasure and satisfying the Lord, always recognizing that He's the supreme proprietor. So we should offer everything to Him as a sacrifice, even our very lives. And of course, different sampradayas, they express that according to their particular teachings, particular shastras, particular lineage. But you see, we are very fortunate in Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, in our Sampradaya, Brahma, Madhya, Gaudiya Sampradaya. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made it very clear and demonstrated pure devotion service to Lord Krishna. So we can engage in very simple devotion of bhakti services based on Vaishnava Seva, the holy name Seva, serving Sri Nama, the holy name, serving the spiritual master, his teachings. We have a whole package here. Very blissful process actually. If you really realize, it's the most blissful process ever. This is incredible. And when you really apply it, you feel, see, you really feel the energy behind it. You feel the happiness behind it. Actually, in my understanding, in my realization, my personal realization, the best form of preaching Krishna consciousness is when we are happy, because we have an impact on people. These persons, Hare Krishna devotees, are so blissful and happy and peaceful, and they feel affected by it, whether they realize it consciously or not, but they feel affected, at least subconsciously. They feel that, wow, there's something here that I can look into, not just some nice philosophy. I mean, if you just want to learn philosophy, you can go to college. There's so much philosophy. Very confusing actually. And unless you understand Krishna consciousness, you get lost in the so-called philosophical views. But if you see things through the eyes of the Shastra, Shastra Caksus, Caksus means eyes, one who sees through Jnana Caksus, then you can see, wow, some philosophers getting close to it, like Socrates and many other philosophers. But we can understand that actually Krishna consciousness stands out above. And this is not just because we are biased and we are followers of Srila Prabhupada. It just simply makes sense. When we study Prabhupada's books, they're just all there. We can connect the dots together. Wow, this is amazing philosophy, the best of best. And of course, very intelligent people, even in the academia, intellectuals, who actually appreciating Prabhupada's books. They can see, very systematic, very clear, and scientific. And Srila Prabhupada himself had so many very intelligent disciples who are academically qualified, scientifically qualified. So they could actually create, explain things in a rational way, what the scientists consider rational, through mathematical formulas, through cosmological physics, through biology. They can explain things very clearly. So that's why there is more and more recognition of these literatures, and then ultimately we are helping humanity, individually and collectively. And of course the purpose of this mission is a mission. In other words, we trying to enlighten our fellow humans, help the living entities to realize that actually ultimately we are all brothers and sisters in the service of the Supreme Lord. And without service to Krishna, we cannot fully relish that transcendental joy, happiness. Mm-hmm. Hare Krishna. Someone's phone. Hare Krishna. So this And as living entities, as the Atman, the pure soul, we are Anandamaye, pleasure seekers, happiness seekers. There's a reason we are here also, individually, although we might have our individual cases how we came to Krishna consciousness. Because we didn't actually fully enjoy that Ananda. We didn't have that. We have only broken pieces of glass here and there trying to enjoy, thinking that we can be happy in the material world. Life after life, we're still here, searching for something. But the grace of our spiritual masters, particularly Srila Prabhupada, who's our grandfather, spiritual master. See, Prabhupada is our grandfather. He is giving us that clue, he's giving us the hint, he's giving us Divya Jnana. Just like when King Pandu passed away, Kunti was perplexed. What about my sons, my 5 sons? And so he approached Bhishmadev, please take care. So Bhishmadev was like a grandfather, spiritually every way, martial. Although the Pandavas accepted different gurus, because they were Kshatriya, Dronacharya, of course. They were great teachers to look up on. They accepted the authority. So similarly, we accept the authorities of Vaishnava school, Siddhanta. We have the Mahajanas, classics, the 12 Mahajanas. And these Mahajanas are manifesting through our disciplic successions, the very essential teachings of the Mahajanas. Bhishmadev is one of them, by the way. They're manifesting their teachings through the divine words of Srila Prabhupada, for example, the divine words of his spiritual masters, going back to Mahaprabhu and further. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is reinforcing the process of bhakti in this day and age. Therefore, mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, there's a famous verse, is that in this age of Kali, those who are endowed with sufficient intelligence, they will take the chanting, the congregation chanting of the holy names of Krishna, Sankirtan Yagna. So intelligent persons are enthusiastic, are anxious, I would say, eager to take shelter of the Sankirtan Yagna. Therefore, they are intelligent, according to the Bhagavatam. Only intelligent people can understand the value of these teachings. So we may not be on the platform of perfection, but we are on the way to perfection. So we get the taste, when we get the ruchi, when we get the blessings of the higher authorities, not to speak of the divine couple, Radha and Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, when they empower us, this is when the preaching starts. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami makes it very clear, no one can preach Krishna consciousness without being empowered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So as devotees, as candidates for spiritual advancement, adhikari, we have to constantly pray to these authorities, not to speak of Krishna himself. Please give us strength, clarity of mind, so we can have an impact on the world somehow or other. Even just by our own, if we become very pure in our consciousness, very convinced, then we can actually touch people's lives. Srila Prabhupada was so effective in his preaching. We can see, morning walk conversations or preaching to guests, that he not just appealed to their intellect, but touched their heart. Srila Prabhupada was doing 2 things at the same time. Have an impact on the person's heart, in other words, touching his soul, and also the intellectual, the clearing doubts. So Prabhupada was very, very powerful in that preaching. Of course, his potency is being very pure and advanced. A Mahabhagavata is very rare. So we should be grateful to Lord Krishna that we have a spiritual master who represents Srila Prabhupada, and we should be grateful to Srila Prabhupada, who's our grandfather, who represents the Mahajanas. and ultimately Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is really coming here out of love. So this is a very special Kali Yuga, as we all know, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to deliver all these confused living entities. And he's still here through the holy name, through his transcendental names, the divine names. The Sri Panchatattva is still here, and the devotees bring it alive. The assembly of the Vaishnava, the Sankirtan mission of Mahaprabhu keeps it alive. So let's be an important part in that, not miss the opportunity. Then we are intelligent. If we just take it half-heartedly, then that much we get. Krishna is always very kind, of course. Anyone who comes to Krishna is definitely in a better position, safer position, and there's a hope. There's always a hope for us. But a sincere devotee, it does not want to miss a moment without Krishna. Therefore we are serious. We want to be serious, not to miss an opportunity. Human life, as we all know, very rare, very rare. Therefore Srila Prabhupada in this purport brings our attention back to the basic philosophy. And without this understanding that we are not the body, doesn't matter what science we have, it's all flawed. It's all flawed. And if you ever studied engineering or anything that requires design, a conscious intelligence, a design, not to speak of responsibility behind it too, then you know that you have to have a clear understanding of the principles and the reason and the purpose behind, and you can't make mistakes. So similarly, Krishna's creation is so perfect, and we part of that creation as Jiva Atman, and so Krishna facilitates this through his agencies. So he created the elements, we have the material nature we call Prakriti, and they have their personalities behind, like Durga Devi, and the modes of nature, which is really makes it material. Although, if you understand the philosophy, it's no such a thing material, because everything belongs to Krishna. What makes it material is our perception, because we are under the karma guna, material modes. So our consciousness, our state of consciousness makes it material. And so this is one of Krishna's energies, and the elements are there. And you can see everything is based on the elements here, subtle or gross. Bhumi, Vayu, Agni, all there. Not to speak of the manasa, the mind, the buddhi, the intelligence, ahankara. All these things are bounding the living entities here. They're very difficult to escape. But if you are fortunate, we hang on to the lotus feet of our spiritual master. Hang on. Just like when we travel in India, we catch a bus. You see all these buses are full and just being squashed. And sometimes the only thing you can hang on to is the handbar up on the top. And if you don't hang on to it, you can fly out of the bus. So that's how we have to hang on to Srila Prabhupada. Hang on to his lotus feet. Don't let it go. Stay with it. And success is guaranteed. It cannot go wrong. 100% for sure. So, but if you're doubtful, that means we have to read more, we have to hear more, and all doubts will be cleared. The only qualification we really need is the patience and sincerity, and then Krishna will help us. He gives us all the tools, he gives us the teachers, he gives the devotees, the Sangha, the association of devotees, so we can succeed. And this life is very rare. Human form of life is very rare. We should not waste it. We should utilize it. And no matter what is our position, it ultimately comes down to our state of consciousness, the good condition of our heart. That's what Krishna sees. Krishna not occupied too much with the externals. Who are you? What is your ashram? Or this, that. No. Krishna sees exactly who we are particularly Srimati Radharani, sees our true identity, the spirit, the jiva, atman, the pure soul. And that's what they nurture. They're protecting us. But they're also aware, of course. They're aware of the current state of consciousness. So Krishna is helping us always, giving us clues and intelligence to make progress in spiritual life. And at the end, still, he sees the condition of our heart. What we have, what is our development, how much we love him, how much we are attached to him. And if we are attached to him, again, we are successful. This life is really meant for a particular goal, a particular purpose. So we should not waste it. Very easy to waste time, we all know. Because this is a material world and full of distractions. It's designed for that. So many ways, subtle, gross, whatever. It's all distractions. But a sincere devotee, a sadhaka, he constantly hears Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, not to speak of engaging in the other limbs of devotion service, like Padasevanam, Archana, be serving the Vaishnavas. When we serve the Vaishnavas, the holy name will reveal. It's not just some chanting or singing. If you really want to experience the holy name, serve the devotees. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj used to often say to his disciples, when it comes to the point of humility, what is humility? Of course we say Trinadapi Sunichena. These are Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's words, and if you understand them, very nice, but Bhaktisiddhanta went a bit further. He said, if you become the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant 100 times over, you may make some advancement. So, emphasizing the humility for devotion service. This is the most important, one of the most important thing in devotion service, to have that humility, application, conviction, and always the association of devotees. Always keep tightly with the association of devotees. Hang on to the spiritual master. Don't let it go. And you're very, very happy in this life. You can be very happy. There's not something that we just think, oh, we'll be happy. No, we're happy. We already just being here, we're enjoying relation Krishna Katha. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So taste is there. But it's not that we just want to enjoy Krishna consciousness, but naturally we have that tendency. We want to enjoy, we want to be with the devotees. So, but the ultimate aim is to give pleasure to Krishna, to become a lover of Krishna, to be free from this illusion and misconceptions. This is the real freedom when you really love Krishna. There's no hang-up, there's no confusion. I just want to love Krishna in a simple-hearted way. And if you're very, very simple-hearted, devoted to Krishna in so many ways, through your services, through your skills or ability, or whatever you can do for Krishna, if you do it out of heart, out of loving, grateful heart to Krishna, then you'll be very happy, that's for sure. This is the ultimate formula for happiness. Just simply give your heart to Krishna and to the devotees, and you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. You'll be successful. You'll be successful. Of course, it has its difficult path also, because we get tested throughout the way, and this is when we have to pray. I always believed in prayer to the spiritual master and to the Vaishnavas to get their blessings, because it's not a mechanical process, although it appears to be mechanical. We follow rules and regulations, and we have prescribed, rules and regulations. But ultimately, we need to request, we need to pray for the blessings. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada. Without the mercy of Guru, you have no chance. We have to pray constantly, Krishna, Prabhupada, and the Vaishnavas. We are depending on the assembly of the devotees. So let's work together. Let's become Krishna conscious. Let's pray to Krishna. Please help us not to lose this opportunity. It's a very rare opportunity. After many, many lifetimes, we have this opportunity. How can you let it go? So let's take shelter of Krishna and Srila Prabhupada. And this is the only way to see the world correctly. When we have this understanding of bhakti. Otherwise we get confused like a scientist. They're trying to go through the imperfect senses and they come up to conclusions which appears to be very, very rational, but actually not rational, because they're missing the point. There's a fundamental flaw in the equation. So they cannot have a perfect understanding. They have something good. There's some truth in everything, but not complete. We are after actual knowledge, real knowledge. And that is only comes through the acharyas, the great teachers, and the process of devotional service. Thank you. Is there any comments and questions? Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you were mentioning how the beginning of the verse, how all the parts of the body are there until they're not assembled, they're not functioning, right?
Yeah.
So when I was reading the process of creation, how Brahma, how everything comes into place, I read that everything is in the Mahatattva, that is activated by the, how do you say? When Vishnu looks into the Mahatattva. So all that is activated. And then the rest of the things are done by Brahma. So I was just wondering, because it says how Brahma first is there, and then the four Kumaras are the first ones?
Yeah, they come out,
And then he gets angry, and then Shiva comes out of his forehead, and then Swayambhavan comes out of his one side of his body, and then Sattva, etc. So I was just wondering, just take a look. So at what point, so is Brahma who takes all the senses and different parts of the body and put them together?
Because you see, he's just like I'll just give you a simple example, crude example. See, just like in the department of engineering, there's always, everyone's got their tasks, but ultimately there's someone who is like a supervisor. The different positions, of course, but ultimately it comes to a proprietor, and who actually agrees to it. That is Krishna, Parameshvara, the cause of all causes. There's a whole chapter called the cause of all causes. And then agencies, they cannot act independently. Lord Brahma, like Srila Prabhupada, often calls it Mahapita, the father of this universe, and obviously he's like the chief engineer for this universe. He masterminds, he creates all the different elements. He's got his process of creation. He has his agencies too. So you can see they're all manifesting one by one. Even the Prajapatis, everyone has a particular function. See, everyone's got a particular function. Just like when you're designing a house, you see, they go the construction engineering, the conceptual design. They all have the experts. And then ultimately aesthetics, interior design. And then approvals, everyone has to approve it. Nothing happens independently. There's always a mastermind, a planning going on. So similarly, Krishna's creation is like that. Krishna is the ultimate designer, really. But then he entrusts these responsibilities to, obviously, Brahma, who is the Mahapita, the father of this universe. And he meditates on this also. He's very powerful. And all these, you can see in the Bhagavatam also, the different limbs. The Brahmanas come from his head part, the mouth, see? And the demons, the asuras from the shadow. You can see that as Brahma manifesting his creation, everything makes sense. But we have to study it properly so to see the connections, why and the reasons. And Krishna ultimately facilitates, how Srila Prabhupada says, the living entities, because we're like foolish children in the hands of creation, basically. So, like a father facilitates the playthings for the children, see? But they're undeveloped, so the father always has to watch over. So similarly, this material creation has a purpose, and we desire to come here to experience this journey. And there's a lesson behind it also. That's what we have to hear. A transcendental form of knowledge, but Brahma's creation is still just has a purpose, functions. So make it this universe can operate, function properly. And for that we require the elements, we require the all particular functions. Otherwise it doesn't work. Just like in building, we have building materials, see? And everything has a quality check, see? You can't just build whatever. You have to have follow particular regulations, codes, building codes. So Lord Brahma, being the chief engineer, he was capable to do that. He was empowered to do that. Just like when he created this universe, every detail designed by Lord Brahma. For example, when he was in trance, meditating on the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Of course, Lord Brahma is a great devotee. And often he's in trance just for that, meditating on the beautiful divine pastimes of Rajabhumi. And tears flowing from his eyes. And those teardrops falling on the earthly plane, our universe, and became the Amla tree. The very first tree in this universe is the Amla. And the fruit is Amalaki. So you can see whatever Lord Brahma did had a purpose and had a result. But he never acted independently, always by the blessings, So that's how I see. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Ki jai.